All right, welcome everyone to the joint Judiciary Committee Ways and Means Committee hearing, GM decision-making hearing this Wednesday morning. My name is Carl Rhodes, Chair of the Judiciary Committee. Donovan Dela Cruz is Chair of the Ways and Means Committee. This Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include the following agenda: 9:45 joint JDC/WAM. The members of JDC are Vice Chair Keo Kaloli, Senator Ocasio, Senator Gabbard, Senator Lee, Senator Kim, Senator Favela. I believe will either are here or all will be here. Senator Dela Cruz, I don't know what your practice is. Do you want to introduce your members?
No, we don't normally do that.
Okay. So this meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committees will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business tomorrow, Thursday, March 4 at 10:25 a.m. and a public notice will be posted. And that's the end of the announcements. First up for this joint agenda is SB 320. This requires each tax return preparer to have a valid preparer tax identification number issued by the IRS and to furnish the preparer's tax information number on any return or claim for refund if required by DOE tax. Recommendation here is to pass as is. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair Keo Kaloli, I guess you're here. I can't see you.
I'm here. Members, voting on SB 320, the recommendation is to pass this measure unamended. Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
Vice Chair goes aye. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Reservations?
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Senator Dela Cruz.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Chair, any discussion? Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator English. Senator English.
Aye. Aye.
Senator Inoue.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Kidani.
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Shimabukuro.
Aye.
Senator Taniguchi.
Aye.
Senator Wakai is excused. And Senator Favela.
Reservations?
Recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you. Next up is SB 321 relating to increasing the payment amount for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs pro rata share of the Public Land Trust. Recommendation here is to pass with amendments, text, and we'll put on a delayed effective date of May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Keo Kaloli.
Members, voting on SB 321, SB1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting the presence of all members of the committee, are there any reservations? Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Chair, all members vote aye. Recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? Not Chair votes aye.
Okay, with 10 members present, any reservations?
Reservations.
Taniguchi, any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is SB 767, and this legalizes the personal use, possession, and sale of cannabis in a specified quantity. Recommendation here is to pass with a number of amendments. We'll need to amend several criminal statutes in Chapter 712, which criminalize all derivatives of cannabinoids to conform with the decriminalization of marijuana from the scheduled classes. Need to amend Section 329.14d, which includes marijuana as a Class 1 drug. We'll put on a delayed effective date, May 6, 2137. In addition, I'd like to delete Section 10 per DOE taxes testimony. It's not needed because cannabis establishments will be subject to GET and income tax anyway. Also, per DOE taxes testimony, expand the medical cannabis exception to the usual rule against giving tax benefits and deductions for the sale of illegal drugs to entities selling pakalolo in this bill. Similar to the Department of Public Safety's suggestion, will ban recreational pakalolo use where alcohol use is currently prohibited, i.e. parks, playgrounds, etc. will change 1 ounce to 30 grams, which is a tiny bit more, and will prohibit sales to anyone under 17 and prohibit sales to anyone under 21 and ban possession by anyone under 21. Members, questions or concerns? Okay, Vice Chair.
Members, voting on SB 767 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting the presence of all members of the committee, are there any reservations?
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Okay, is there any opposition? Seeing none, Chair, all members vote aye. Recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion?
All right, with 10 members present, first, any reservations? Senator Favela.
Yes, reservations, thank you.
Reservations for no for me.
I was taking reservations first, please.
Oh, okay.
Don't confuse me.
All right.
All right,
Sorry.
reservations for Senator Kidani. Any other reservations? Okay, any opposition?
No. No.
Senator Moriwaki and Senator Inoue. Anyone else? Okay, recommendations adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is SB 789. This establishes a special procurement process for the procurement of goods and services. Requires the Procurement Policy Board to establish rules and procedures for special procurement process by the end of this year. Recommendation on SB 789 is to include technical amendments, and we'll put on a deferred effective date, May 6, 2137. Questions, concerns?
Chair Rhodes, I
Sure,
just
thank
want to voice my reservations
Oh, okay.
in the sense, just seems like to legislate that one entity should be exempt from compliance with both HRS Chapter 103D and 103F conveys a sense of disproportionate equality in the law's application. This is as stated from the procurement office, and under the current amendment limits exemption to quote, as is practicable under the circumstances, which I think is very vague and puts a lot of discretion on one person.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other concerns or questions? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 789 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations?
Reservation.
Noting the reservations of Senator Ocasio, I also have reservations for Senator Favela. Members, any other reservations? Okay, any opposition? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Wham's turn. Go ahead.
Okay, Ways and Means, same, any discussion? Same recommendation. If not, Chair votes aye.
Okay, with 10 members present, any reservations?
Reservations.
Anyone else? Any opposition? Your recommendation's adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is SB 932. This establishes the Clean Energy and Energy Efficiency Revolving Fund, repeals the Building Energy Efficiency Revolving Loan Fund. Recommendation on 932 is to blank out the appropriations and put on a deferred effective date of May 6, 2137, and there are technical amendments as well. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Chair Rhodes.
Senator Ocasio.
Yeah, no, same, even though I know now we're blinking out the appropriation, or is that the 50 million in the projects?
I believe, well, we're blanking on all the appropriations, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have a little bit of concerns because it says the funds deposited into the Clean Energy and Energy Efficiency Revolving Loan Fund shall not be under the jurisdiction of nor be subject to approval by the PUC. So that's where my reservations lie as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members, any other comments or concerns? If not, Senator Keokalole.
Members, SB 932 SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting the reservations of Senator Ocasio, members, are there any other reservations?
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Any no votes? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Ways and Means, same recommendation. Any discussion?
All right, with 10 members present, any reservations?
Reservation.
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Inoue and Favela. Any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is SB 1036 relating to procurement, repeals the establishment of the Community Council on Purchase of Health and Human Services, amends various sections of procurement code, establishes a state payer committee within the Department of Health to implement a unified framework for tracking, coordinating, and guiding the purchase of behavioral health and homelessness services, and a number of other things. Recommendation here is to pass with technical amendments. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 1036 SB1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations or opposition? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? Not Chair votes aye.
All right, with 10 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next up is SB 1087. This suspends the requirement for public employers to make annual required contributions to the Hawaii Employer Union Health Benefits Trust Funds for the fiscal years 24 to 25. Recommendation on 1087. It already has an effective date, so recommendation is to pass as is. Questions, concerns?
Chair Rhodes,
Yep, Senator Casio,
I would like to voice my reasoning for opposition to this measure.
please proceed.
That this is a benefit that employer groups have bargained and contracted to provide to their employees. And deferring this payment would increase liability of net payments to taxpayers by about 4.1 billion, as stated in the testimonies. So it's my belief we should be closing tax loopholes for the rich and have the wealthiest income earners paying their fair share instead of going this route. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick response. I'd say, well, hopefully we don't have to use this, but we are in desperate financial times. Chairman Dela Cruz, I believe, has either heard or is about to hear a bill that you're alluding to that would raise taxes on the wealthy. So I don't know where that stands, but I know it's under consideration. Any other concerns or questions?
Taniguchi.
Yeah, just to clarify, yeah, this wasn't negotiated. This is statutory that we did, and so certainly we wouldn't want it to be 4 years, but we need that probably to balance the governor's 6-year financial plan. And hopefully, if we get federal aid, that we can amend this later in the session.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, members. Any other questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 1087 SB1, the recommendation is to pass this measure unamended, noting the opposition of Senator Ocasio. Members, are there any reservations?
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Any other?
Actually, I'll change mine to reservations. Thank you.
Okay, so we have reservations for Senators Ocasio and Favela. Any other reservations or no votes? Seeing none, Chair, all other members vote aye. Recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? If not, Chair votes aye.
Okay, with 10 members present, any reservations? Senator Favela,
Yes, reservations.
thank you. Any opposition? Okay, recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is SB 1128. This permits individual vocational programs within the purview of the Office of Youth Services to engage in commercial enterprises. Recommendation on SB 1128 is it already has a delayed effective date, so technical amendments only. Questions or concerns? If not, Senator Keokalole.
Members voting on SB 1128 SB1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Members, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? If not, Chair votes aye.
All right, with 10 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to SB 1147, this is relating to tobacco products, makes unlawful the sale of flavored tobacco products, mislabeling of e-liquid products containing nicotine, and sale of tobacco products other than through retail sales via in-person exchange. It does a number of other things as well. Recommendation on SB 1147 is to pass with technical amendments, and it does have an effective date already. Questions or concern, members? Concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 1147 SC1, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Are there any reservations? Is there any opposition? Seeing none, Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thanks.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? Senator Kidani.
Thank you, Chair. Ordinarily, I would support, but in just a few minutes ago, we passed a bill that allows the sale of marijuana, and yet we're banning the flavored tobacco products for the public. So this, to me, just doesn't make sense, and I will be voting no.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Chair votes aye.
All right, with all members present, any reservations? Any other opposition?
No.
Anyone else? Okay, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Next up is the final bill on our agenda. This agenda, SB 1329, this creates time limits to resolve protests to the awards of competitive sealed proposal contracts and procurements of professional services. Recommendation here is to pass with an effective date, May 6, 2137. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 1329 SC1, passing with amendments. Are there any reservations? Any no votes? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Ways and Means. Any discussion? Not Chair votes aye.
All right, with 11 members present, any reservations? Any opposition? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this agenda. And JDC members, we do have a separate Zoom link at 1024 for a couple of deferred matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Joint Committee of Judiciary, Ways and Means, and Water Land. We have one bill on our agenda today that is for decision making, and that is SB 1334, allows the raising of the building height limit for 2 of the 6 parcels owned by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in the Kaka'ako-Makai area to 400 feet, and lists the current restriction against residential development in Kaka'ako-Makai to allow residential development by the Office of Hawaiian Affairs or by third parties for which the Office of Hawaiian Affairs conveys the parcels. Recommendation is to pass with some amendments to address the potential noise and odor concerns noted in DOT's testimony due to the Kaka'ako-Makai's location directly below aircraft approach and departure slopes of the airport, such as single event noise from aircraft operations, fumes, smokes, vibrations, and odors. Will add a requirement that DHHL and any developer provide advance written notice to potential lessees and residents of possible noise, odor, and other aircraft-related nuisances, and DHHL and other developer assess and propose mitigation efforts to address these issues. There are also texts, and will change the date to May 6, 2137, and will include language in the committee reports that the development, of course, is subject to any applicable federal regulations as well. Questions or concerns?
I have a question, Chair.
First, Senator Ocasio, then Senator Kim.
Are those noise ordinance concerns also addressed in the buildings across the road? Because it's about 50 yards difference, perhaps.
I don't know what their agreements were.
Okay.
Senator Kim.
I'm guessing not.
Yes, I'm for the amendments that you recommended. However, I can't support the measure. The fact that I don't believe that we should go extend the height in Makai lands and do what we did in Waikiki. I think we have an opportunity here to save and preserve that views and that vista for future generations to come. And we should be doing some economic development like a Hawaiian culture Pikes Market, and we should do that. I don't even believe we should have put the medical school and the cancer center there, because that can succeed anywhere else. We need to look at what we can do along our shorelines, and Lord knows we don't have that much of it left. Now, if any other developer from the mainland came and wanted to put this 400 foot on our land, and if it wasn't OHA land, they would be opposed to it. So, sorry, but I'm.
Understood.
Carl, I have a question. But wasn't the history of the land that it was all infill?
Yes.
Well,
I don't,
yeah, that was a landfill. So that
certainly some of it was, yes.
so that's different than if there were Iwi Kupuna there and all of that, their historical site. But that wasn't even there. That's all infill from a landfill.
Oh, it's just a building on waterfront property. I mean, whether it's landfill or not, it's still waterfront.
Any other concerns or questions?
Is this only Judd to talk?
Okay, if not, Senator Keo Kololi for the vote for JDC.
Members voting on SB 1334 SD1, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting that all members of the Judiciary Committee are present, are there any members with reservations?
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela
Reservations.
and Senator Ocasio
Yep, and reservations, just respecting the conversation earlier.
and Senator Lee. Okay, are there any members in opposition? Senator Kim? Any other members? Okay, seeing none, all other members vote aye. Chair recommendation adopted.
Thank you. I'll pass the torch to WAM.
Okay, Ways and Means, same recommendation. Any discussion? So I just have one thing that I wanted to point out was that OHA was the major proponent to repeal the PLDC, the Public Land Development Corporation. And so I find it somewhat ironic now that they're coming in to ask for this when they had other means to go and get the development rights that they needed. So I hope that this means that they're reconsidering, that they understand that we should be looking at our underutilized assets to create revenue. And I really believe that if we're going to keep the country, we have to focus density in the urban core. So I hope that that's something that they're reconsidering. And I really want them to be good stewards, not just good advisors. They have land in Wahiawa. They have Kukani Loco, they have 500 acres. There hasn't been much done since they received that land. I mean, there's lots of criticism on ADC, but OHA got the land the same time as ADC, and there really hasn't been anything done on OHA's land. So I hope Senator Kidani had mentioned there's new leadership, so I really hope that that's something that all of these things are going to start to change, and they're going to be good stewards versus just good advisors, and be consistent in what they want at the legislature. Any other discussion?
I do. Again, I go back to our discussion earlier that this was a community development that OHA was involved in 2005, and it went on until 2011. Lots of community input, lots of people who use the shoreline, not just Kaka'ako residents, and it really is the urban shoreline. And so the Makai land, they all involved in, they looked at a cultural gathering place that Senator was talking about. So I really believe that if we're going to do anything, we should ask OHA to go back to that community planning group, go back to HCDA, and look at the whole area in terms of development, and not just the one or two parcels. They want to build 400-foot high-rises, which is now prohibited by law and by HCDA zoning rules. So I ask members to consider we vote on this recommendation. Thank you. I vote no.
Any other discussion? Ways and Means?
Could I
Oh,
Can I make a comment, just a brief comment that, you know, it was always understanding at the time that these negotiations were made that they would be allowed to seek this variance they're seeking now. And they're understanding also that, you know, even with this variance, that's only going to cover the claims that were mentioned in the bill up until 2012. And, you know, OHA has indicated too that if this bill gets through, you know, all the parkland will be preserved. They're not touching any of that. And that they also, you know, if funds are available, willing to help improve the existing parkland to make it even better for the public. So I appreciate you scheduling this bill.
I appreciate your concern. I just think that that should have been on the front end rather than trying to get the height variances and building residential where it's restricted and doing it before and coming to the legislature with a plan rather than.
So for Ways and Means, what we might want to do is, so we can get this moving, because we still have our 10:30 agenda that we have to vote on before 11. So we can either wrap up discussion, take the vote, or have Waterland take their vote, and we can take our vote with our 10:30 agenda.
Let's just take the vote.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm ready to vote.
any discussion?
You can vote.
Okay,
Yeah.
Senator Kidani.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, you know, as a part Hawaiian, I feel compelled to support this bill because we keep pushing, you know, Hawaiians off their land. And when you turn around, you stand at this property, you turn around and look at all those tall buildings behind them. You know, they blocked someone's view too. So to me, a lot of this is about the height and not wanting the condos that are there now to have their views disturbed. So I support this bill.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
Right, with all members present. First, any reservations?
Reservation.
Taniguchi.
Savella, Taniguchi. Anyone else? Any opposition? Moriwaki. Anyone else? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Committee on Water Land Chair recognizes we have Senators Misalucha and Favela on Zoom. Present here, Vice Chair Agaran and Member Senator Revere here for Waterland. Waterland's recommendation is to pass as recommended with amendments. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Chair, this is Senator Misalucha.
Senator Misalucha.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, if you can just make sure your comments are short because we need to continue on with the vote, please. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, well, I know this is a difficult vote for me. I support OHA and their desire and objectives. I support development, providing places to work, live, and play. But I think we need to preserve the open space in that area. So I feel that there might be some alternative places where this development would be. So I intend to vote no.
Okay, thank
Chair.
you. Any further discussions? Senator Revere.
I'll be supporting the position of the senator from the affected area, so I'll be going in opposition also.
Thank you, Senator. Hearing none, then chair votes aye with the same recommendation to pass with amendments.
Okay, with all members present and with 2 no votes, any other no votes? Any reservations?
Reservation.
Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Okay, Carl, you can adjourn.
And that concludes this agenda. Mahalo.
Thank you. Okay, calling to order the 9:35 joint agenda, Committee on Ways and Means, Committee on Judiciary. First item, Senate Bill 468. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. Amend to include a Part 2 expanding the school impact fee use to improve or renovate existing structures for school use and removing the expenditure of collected impact fees from the annual budget process. Defecting the date to 2050. Any discussion? If not,
Senator Del Cruz, those were the amendments that Senator Kidani had asked for?
yes.
Okay, good, I'm good.
If not, chair votes aye.
Okay, with 11 members, sorry. And let me take a roll call on this one, sorry. Senator De La Cruz,
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator English,
Aye.
Senator Inoue.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha,
Aye.
Senator Kidani,
Aye.
Senator Moriwaki,
Aye.
Senator Shimabukuro,
Aye.
Senator Taniguchi,
Aye.
Senator Wakai,
Yes.
and Senator Favela.
Aye.
Thank you, sorry.
Same recommendation on SB 468 for JDC members. Any questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 468 passing with amendments. Noting the presence of all members of the Judiciary Committee, are there any reservations?
Reservations?
So noted. Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 613. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, adopt LRB Tech amendments, effective date to 2050. Any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
All right, with all members present in WAM, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for JDC members on 613. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 613, SB1 passing with amendments. With all members present, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 791. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, adopt LRB Tech amendments. Any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
Okay, with all members in WAM present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
For JDC members on SB 791, same recommendation. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Senator Kiyokole.
Members, SB 791, noting the presence of all members of the committee, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 913. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, adopt LRB Tech amendments, effective date to 2050. Any discussion? Not chair votes aye.
All right, with all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? The recommendation of Ways and Means is approved.
Thank you.
For SB 913, it's the same recommendation, pass with amendments for JDC members. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Senator Ocasio, please.
Only really
please be
quickly,
brief.
I think it's great, but I think it should also include the outer islands, or at least Hawaii Island. Thank you.
Understood. Anyone else? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 913, SB1 passing with amendments. Any reservations? Any no votes? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 1198. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. Per testimony of DOTAX, expand the permissible use of the Tax Administration Special Fund to include funding information technology and related positions that are exempt from Chapter 76, funding the operations of the Criminal Investigation Section, including support staff and positions, and funding the operations of the Administrative Rules Office. Taking from Tax Foundation's testimony, include amendments proposed to 231-8.5D by the organization, adopt LRB Tech amendments, and effective date to 2050. Any discussion? Not chair votes aye.
Okay, we have 11 members present. Any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation is adopted.
For JDC members on SB 1198, pass with amendments, same recommendation. Any concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 1198, SB1 passing with amendments. Are there any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 1204. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, adopt LRB Tech amendments, effective date to 2050. Oh, sorry. It already has an effective date, so just adopting LRB Tech amendments. Any discussion? Not chair votes aye.
Right, with 11 members present in WAM, any reservations? Any opposition? The recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
For JDC members, SB 1204 to pass with amendments. Any questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members passing with amendments, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 1207. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. Adopt LRB Tech amendments. Amend 103D-307A1 and C to read a situation of an unusual or compelling urgency creates a threat to life, public health, welfare, public property, serious disruption to government services, or safety by reason of major natural disaster, epidemic, riot, fire, or equipment failure, and effecting the date to 2050. Any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
Okay, with all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
JDC members, same recommendation on SB 1207, pass with amendments. Questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members passing with amendments, are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Next item, Senate Bill 1285. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. Adopt LRB Tech amendments, effective date to 2050. Any discussion? Not chair votes aye.
Okay, with all members present in Ways and Means, any reservations? Any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next item, Senate Bill,
The Chair's recommendation to JDC members on SB 1285 is to pass with amendments. It's the same recommendation. Any questions or concerns? If not, Vice Chair.
Members voting on SB 1285, SD1, the recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Recommendation adopted.
okay, next item, Senate Bill 1317. Recommendation is to defer indefinitely since we passed a similar measure on an earlier agenda.
JDC will defer as well.
Okay, next item, Senate Bill 1320. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, including language from State Office of Planning, clarifying language that that the department would like to see inserted, and adopting LRB Tech amendments. Any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
Okay, with all members present, any reservations? Any opposition? Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
For JDC members, the same recommendation on SB 1320, pass with amendments. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Members, SB 1320, passing with amendments. Noting all members are present, any reservations? Any opposition? Seeing none, chair, recommendation adopted.
Thank you. Thank you. Adjourn.